Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, do you and your divine counterpart have a mission or purpose to fulfill together in this lifetime? And if so, what is it? And what can you do to get started on that right now? There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Onyx. Group 2 is the Dragonstone. And group 3 is the Cherry Quartz. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. Chose the Onyx. So let's start by taking a look at if you and your divine counterpart have a mission or purpose to fulfill together in this lifetime, and if so, what is that? And you can actually apply this idea to a soulmate connection, twin flame, twin soul, future spouse, true love, just anything that applies to the idea of the person that you will be spending your life with. Is there a purpose or a mission that you share with one another? Okay, so the first one we have is the calling. You are being beckoned. So that is a very clear yes. You and your divine counterpart, your person, your true love, your twin flame, your twin soul, your soulmate, whatever you'd like to call this person. Maybe you prefer not to use labels as far as the connection is concerned, but there's definitely something more than just love and romance that the two of you are supposed to experience and create together and kind of share with others, share with the collective. It may be where you are both light workers called to sort of help with the ascension of the collective consciousness, things that can involve kind of various causes that each of you are passionate about. This may be something as a venue through which you meet one another, or something that you find that you have in common that you are drawn to do. And this can be kind of like way shower energy in terms of spreading awareness, getting other people involved, kind of encouraging even people to start to examine the life that they are living. What outside of the mundane, what kind of higher purpose or value can be added to the measure of like the human community in general beyond just sort of material pursuits. There may be something as far as like purpose or mission, encouraging people to live more of an examined life, kind of looking within, exploring what are their talents, what are they drawn to, what are the likes, what are the dislikes, how can these things be harnessed out of just pure ambient energy within, or again something that may even relate to kind of just a hobby or things that people are opinionated about or passionate about. And this is all about the energy of kind of involving other people with sort of greater community involvement. So it can involve sort of like establishing foundations or groups or communities that can have to do with a wide variety of things. It'll be specific for everyone. Maybe that has to do with things spiritually or even things on more of like a mundane or even kind of on a global level. And we also have the sacred vow, divine commitment. So another confirmation there that you and the person that you have in mind, that you're watching the video for, the idea of like your perfect person, that there is something more than just a beautiful love story that you were supposed to experience with one another. Although for a lot of you, it feels like the essence of that love story may even be kind of some of that way shower energy as well. If there are particular obstacles that each of you have had to face in your own individual lives, to kind of come home to yourselves, become that yin to your own yang, any sort of challenges you've had to overcome, there may be some kind of symbiosis between the two of you and what those paths have looked like, that as you share these experiences or you align with different kind of communities that may involve some of these things. This can have to do with things spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, physically, situationally, financially, any kind of things that have been like obstacles or burdens in each of your lives that you've had to kind of contend with on your life path. It feels like for a lot of you that this involves that kind of like divine purpose and mission, even if it's something where you are just encouraging one another to sort of take those struggles, take those obstacles which have been experienced, and transmuting that into the opportunity to share your story with other people, to provide hope and inspiration and upliftment to people that are maybe still stuck in periods of darkness within their own life, or are struggling to navigate towards the energy of change. It can be something where you're not necessarily having to work side by side with one another, but you're really kind of like that cheerleader energy for one another. You can be that kind of voice of reason, sort of the loving critic, and at the same point in time, that advocate that kind of you're pushing each other to kind of like reach for those goals, reach for not just sort of containing or keeping those experiences very personal and very private, but in some way sharing that with other people as a form of upliftment and encouragement. We also have golden potentiator, quickening, exponential expansion. So this is all about the comfort zone. This is all about kind of stepping out into the unknown, kind of doing the thing that is most fearful. It's bringing to mind the idea of stage fright and kind of overcoming that. So it may be where you're each called to be like public speakers, share your story, share some kind of message, maybe verbally or in like, podcasts, or giving presentations, kind of like organizing community or groups. So this might even be something where you're called to sort of share your story in the form of the written word, writing autobiographies or memoirs, or things that are just very particular to changes each of you have had to make on your individual life paths in order to sort of step into and become the better version of yourselves from whoever you were before. There may be something in that is kind of, with all that yellow sort of like solar plexus chakra, it feels to be something that almost encourages people to sort of reclaim their personal power or step into a place of empowerment on the other side of obstacles. So whatever that can look like, for each of you, maybe it's something that you share in common. Maybe it's something that kind of brings you both together. Something that can even, for some people, involve kind of moving beyond maybe connections in each of your past where you could have had trauma bonds with people, and you've sought to kind of go inside and work on those things, work on those wounds within that would have caused you to sort of resonate or feel most comfortable and familiar with people that were sort of mirror reflections of those wounds from, inner child wounds or other experiences that you've had in life, and kind of choosing to become the healthier version of selves, choosing to sort of reach for empowered partnership in the form of another person. And so maybe for someone or some people that can translate into, kind of creating almost like a program or a, your sort of experience of how that was done in order to help other people sort of navigate their way beyond kind of toxic or low vibrational relationships into more healthy relationships, fostering that healthy relationship with self first and foremost, and then being able to kind of seek and find that in the form of partnerships with others. We also have guanine and cysteine, commitment, connection, flexibility, and resolution. So again, this is all about the energy of kind of bringing people together, bringing dissimilar things into a place of harmony and union. So this can speak about kind of your experiences, each of you, with shadow work, having to kind of reconcile your light and shadow within, come to peace with your past or experiences in your past that hadn't necessarily worked out in a way that seemed advantageous, and kind of making the most of those things, converting obstacles into opportunities to do better, to become better, to make something out of maybe the wreckage of each of your lives, a way in which this can provide inspiration to others to sort of change the way that people maybe look at life, going from glass half empty to glass half full perspective. This can also really speak to anything as far as your situation with your person is concerned, where maybe it's, there are obstacles between the two of you, or like an opposites attract situation, and ways in which you've sort of learned, or you learn to, create compromise, find some sort of middle ground, and ways that that can kind of relate to like negotiations amongst people. So there's the energy of like mediation or talking things through, opening and broadening perspectives to sort of different ideas, bringing together seemingly dissimilar people with maybe a common thread or a narrative, or breaking down kind of walls of communication that have sort of separated different groups of people, and bringing more of sort of like the human factor, or presenting some kind of currents of congruence between different sort of schools of thought, approaches to things, methodologies, anything that may relate to almost separate paths that you and this person, you and your counterpart, you and your soulmate, you and your true love, you and your twin flame, your twin soul, just whatever you're resonating with as far as a label is concerned, your paths that have kind of brought you to a place in life where you are meeting one another, or if you've met one another and you've gone into separation and you're kind of making your way back around to one another. It can almost be the idea of kind of taking the circuitous route to one another, and sort of differing paths that have led you to, that location within yourselves, like the greater love for yourself, and you're able to open up to that greater love with one another. And we also have adaptation. So with that energy of adaptation in the octopus, this is definitely about, flexibility and kind of making the most of circumstances, but finding ways to kind of move on into more favorable climates, conditions, and environments. It speaks to a lot of the energy of the internal landscape. So this can involve, kind of, again, creating a sense of peace, encouraging people to sort of activate purpose, or live in a very kind of intentional way, in order to seek to kind of make the world a better place, or become that change in the world that one is seeking, and endeavoring to do that through that internal landscape first and foremost. It's the energy of also kind of crossing boundaries, crossing thresholds, expanding beyond just kind of things that have seemingly been set in stone, whether that is patterns within self that have been broken free from, and kind of new templates or programs are put in place in terms of like healing, or, even kind of an expansion beyond a certain lifestyle, or, the way in which kind of the quality of life or the goals in life were measured, and anything that was expanded upon in terms of seeking out more meaning, value, and substance beyond maybe, material gains or accolades, or, being well liked, or fame or notoriety, things of that nature. And kind of looking at sort of like, what is the substantive nature of the way in which each individual is kind of spending their time in their lifetime? Any ways in which you and this other person have kind of found a path to bring more meaning to yourself and kind of share that with others, that in and of itself feels to be something where you are each kind of learning, or, learn to kind of create and sustain yourself with this joy within, this light that emanates from within, and, kind of demonstrating that to other people, whether it's other people who sort of align with that same kind of frequency of light, or just being that sort of living example of, change in kind of the world as it is experienced within each individual. It starts inside first and foremost, raising that vibration, becoming more of that radiant essence, and kind of watching the way that that becomes very contagious to kind of the immediate environment around, the ripple effect that that then causes across communities, across broader spectrums, and any ways in which you and your person kind of endeavor to do that on your own. It feels like there's some kind of way to kind of bring that forward, present that to others, be an inspiration for others. And we also have power. So with that energy of the ram and power, this is all about leadership. This is all about kind of taking that first step into the unknown, broaching barriers between people, kind of like opening up lines of communication, gathering of kind of groups of like-minded people or dissimilarly minded people, and kind of creating some sort of consensus among seeming differences, ways in which, this purpose or this mission can involve kind of taking a first step to embark on something very innovative, even if that means kind of sharing deep personal truths, the things that instinctually people might want to sort of hide away or not talk about or not look at, painful things that have had to been endeavored through, ways in which, obstacles have had to been turned into opportunities, not just sort of keeping that as kind of a private victory, but in some way kind of bringing that forth so that others are inspired to kind of follow suit in their own life, in whatever way that kind of resonates for them. So let's take a look at what you can do to start on this purpose or mission at this point in time. And this can be great for if you're with this person. If you're not with this person, you've yet to meet this person, you can always start, where you are with what you have right now. And that can definitely put you in the vibration to not only sort of align with this higher level love, but, to kind of get started on that sort of bigger intention for this love story in terms of the grand kind of cosmology of your particular incarnations in this lifetime. Okay, so we have the Wheel of Fortune, Seven of Pentacles, and the Empress. So this is all about the energy of kind of gathering new skills, taking an inventory of yourself and, kind of things that are almost like hidden in plain sight, talents and abilities, or even life experiences that you've had, things that might have been embarrassing experiences or harrowing experiences, things that you've kind of been working to sort of distance yourself from, and kind of looking at ways in which, rather than just sort of leaving that almost spiritual gold by the wayside, that there is something here as far as like that can be brought forth as a way to educate and inform other people. And so this may, again, involve getting very fearless with yourself first and foremost, to be able to take things out of a place of hiding from within yourself. Maybe you start journaling, maybe you join some kind of group or community where you are able to kind of share these things, share your story, share kind of the experiences that you've had in order to get yourself prepped, get yourself in that place where, you're able to talk about things with confidence. You're able to hold your head high rather than kind of not looking at the skeletons in the closet, for example. And that this can be something that it kind of gets you in that mindset, it gets you in that vibration, it gets you in that energy of putting something forth, not only as a way to kind of generate healing for yourself, if this relates to like shadow work, but a way to kind of, it feels like, give rest to the pieces of your past that might have been very difficult, or things that you've been through, things that you've experienced, where you've had to really kind of summon a degree of courage or ingenuity to kind of get through things. Make that part of like your regular vernacular rather than, just the painful chapter you don't look at. What is a way that you could take that pain in order to kind of educate other people, inform other people, give hope, give inspiration to other people? For some of you, getting involved in this now at this particular point in time, that'll put you in direct alignment with this person. If they're not someone in your life, or, if it's somebody that you're in a separation with, starting to kind of do this, even if you're just doing it very quietly, it sends out a different sort of signal that it almost feels like magnetizes this person in. They pick up on that like a homing beacon and kind of make their way back to you. There's a curiosity about that, almost like something changes within your vibration, and that might encourage them to kind of follow suit or give them inspiration for wherever they are on their path to continue to kind of go forth and, you know, overcome whatever challenges that it feels like not only build character for this individual and for you as well, but really may be something that kind of can be useful to helping other people. With this energy here as well of like the Pentacles and the Wheel of Fortune, this is also possible that for some of you, you know, investing in, you know, maybe like self-help books or, you know, traditional therapy or, you know, maybe kind of like new age sort of methods in order to dig a little bit deeper into that shadow work in order to kind of create peace and reconciliation within yourself. All of those things, rather than kind of just looking at that maybe as like luxuries or amenities in some sort of way, that there's an essence here of almost investing in this work within yourself, invests in kind of the future in ways you can give back. You create wellness, you create healing for yourself, and then you're able to kind of show others how that's done. So if you've been guided or feel drawn to kind of dig a little bit deeper into anything, you know, kind of reconciling the light and shadow within you, however that manifests, whatever that looks like, any sort of investments or expenditures in that regard, kind of minded in that direction of sort of like, I'm going to create wellness for myself with the intention of then I can be that way shower for others, walking that path and then being able to kind of lead others down that similar path or kind of share your experience as a way to inform and inspire others. You know, all of that can kind of get you in tune with that sort of higher purpose in the here and now. So I'm going to close this reading out with some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got W, K, I, T, B, N, F, O, T, C, V, H, B, D, U, M, Q, R, and Y. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. Chose the Dragonstone. So let's start by taking a look at if you and your divine counterpart have a purpose or mission to fulfill in this lifetime together, and if so, what is that purpose or mission? And you can apply this idea to a divine counterpart, a twin flame, a twin soul, a soulmate, you know, future spouse, true love. No title at all, just your person, whatever you want to call this individual. Is there something beyond just a love story that the two of you are supposed to experience or bring forth together in this lifetime? Okay, we have hope and illumination. Hold the light. So this feels almost like the energy that you and this person have like two separate purposes or missions in this lifetime, things that you may be very invested in or are well underway with kind of doing or being shaped by the hand of the divine in order to align very precisely with kind of something that is brought forth, a frequency, a message, a talent, a skill, an ability. And in coming together with one another, you almost provide some kind of like, not that you're the missing piece for one another, but you enhance the wholeness within one another, which allows you to kind of, each of you to sort of infuse this extra energy, this extra luminance, this extra light, or this extra kind of power or energy within kind of the momentum that has already been generated along your separate paths. So it feels like something that almost the purpose or mission is to spark within one another this awakening of like a higher love, a sense of almost being like a sanctuary, or really the love story between the two of you being so personally inspiring that everything else in your life takes on a very beautiful sheen. Everything else is kind of infused with that undercurrent, that almost glow from within that allows each of you to kind of show up as even better versions of yourselves in things that are already very close to your heart. Very, you've invested a lot of yourselves in these very kind of separate or unique paths that may have kind of like similar themes or a similar sort of purpose or intention. Maybe this is, making change for the better in the lives of people around you, or something where you've really devoted yourself to like a particular path of study or a particular career, something that it brings a lot of joy to you. It helps kind of heal and shape the world around you into something different, something better. Something kind of more inspired or brings forth like the essence of wellness. And so this almost feels to be again where that purpose or mission is sort of enhancing kind of a polarity within yourselves individually through this kind of shared energy with one another that allows you to kind of increase the velocity with which you are able to kind of pour yourself forth into your individual endeavors, the impact that you're making in those different kind of paths or those different sort of careers or those different things that you're drawn to. So this may almost be something where you and this person could have experienced like a spiritual awakening, some kind of like call to action in a certain way, and you may have aligned your life in a different sort of capacity, and it is walking this kind of path toward enlightenment, path towards some sort of spiritual truth, that you encounter this like other awakened being in the form of this person. And so you've kind of found things that have resonated with you, certain things have called to you, you've been drawn towards certain things. And then you're meeting one another. Maybe this is like opposites attract, or kind of the undercurrent of certain belief systems, certain practices. They're different in the outside kind of presentation, but the idea of them is the same. And so it's this kind of unity beneath kind of the surface between the two of you. Or this can speak to, kind of very mundane paths, very mundane professions each of you have that are very different from one another, but you help to kind of infuse this sense of empowerment within one another to continue to push forth. Maybe this is something where when you and this person come together, or you align even more deeply with one another, it helps you to commit even further to paths that each of you are already walking. If you're in this sort of energy of like, what's my purpose? What's my mission in this life? What am I here to do? It may be where this kind of love illuminates something within each of you that you see very plainly. You are already aligned with that purpose, and it gives you that drive and initiative to dig in deeper and kind of go the distance with that. We also have Salome, ecstatic dance. So again, this is the idea of kind of that love energy between the two of you, the relationship that happens very privately between the two of you. It is that essence of the purpose. It kind of lights the fire within each of you that allows you to shine even more brightly in your own kind of unique expression of what you've been called here to do in this lifetime, what you already feel drawn toward, what you are already invested in, what you are, maybe when you come together, you experience some kind of spiritual awakening, and thus begins the journey of kind of shifting your narrative arc in some sort of way, or becoming very kind of motivated or feeling supported to perhaps sort of deviate from a path you've been walking and explore something that has been drawing you, maybe kind of moving out of mundane existence into more a spiritually based life. And there may be that similar kind of theme for you and this person, although it could take on kind of a different shape, what that looks like. But it's the current between the two of you. It's this love between the two of you that is the purpose, that is the mission, because it gives you that kind of courage to take those leaps of faith, to step out of the energy of convention, and move in the direction of the unknown. Allow yourself to be carried by kind of this higher inspiration, the hand of the divine that kind of shepherds you in an entirely different direction, or continues to kind of offer you some sort of support along a path that you are already sort of drawn down or driven to explore in some way. We also have Seal of Indivisible Visions, Psychic Vision, Hidden Meanings, Dream Reading. So this almost feels like something where it's like a shift into the life of your dreams, something that, you may have had like a calling toward and you'd chosen a different path, maybe as younger individuals. So this is like dreams deferred that are brought back online and actualized that may look very different from one another, but it's that sense of if you never had support for those dreams before, this person, and you'll perform that role and function for them as well, it'll be that necessary support. It'll be that one person that kind of validates the dream no one else can see but you. It's that one person that encourages you to take a chance, to do that thing that you've been thinking about but have been afraid to sort of take that first step in the direction of. That person that sort of sees that hidden potential and talent within you where you've forgotten the ability to kind of recognize it within yourself. That feels to be this purpose and mission. It's almost walking with one another kind of spiritually down these separate sort of paths in a physical sense. And yet there's that congruence of it may look very different what each of us is sort of called to kind of pour forth in terms of our lifespan and our efforts and, what it is that we're kind of contributing to the greater whole or sort of doing with our time on this earth. But it's driven by this kind of undercurrent of love. It's the essence of kind of finding that fullness of love with another person, the sort of other aspect of creating that ultimate love within self and then having that sort of mirrored and reciprocated in the form of another person who can meet you at that kind of higher vibrational level or see all of you and help you to sort of see and recognize the things you've overlooked about yourself. And in that essence, it feels like it's a very emboldened kind of energy to pursue dreams, to, answer that call if it comes along at a further point in your relationship. Maybe this kind of love story is that key to sort of unlocking that greater ability to receive that kind of energy of the download from on high, or, something where you're really kind of trusting that nudge or that instinct to pour more of yourself into something or branch off in an entirely new direction. And so you each you handhold each other through this process, it feels like, of a very sort of individuated branching out from what you'd been kind of constricted to or constrained to in some sort of way before. This may even relate to, again, kind of that idea of like a spiritual path. So utilizing some of those spiritual skills or abilities to create like a spiritually based business, or to sort of move out of maybe more traditional modalities and methods of doing things and bring in more of like a holistic approach to whatever it is that you and this other person in your own ways would sort of be spending your time doing as far as like a career is concerned. Ways to make money, for example. And, if this doesn't necessarily have to do with spiritually based modalities, it can speak to kind of a level of compassion or empathy that is sort of, unleashed or allowed to kind of happen more, rather than, as like an empath, for example, feeling the need to sort of protect one's energy or insulate, that there's a sense that this love kind of provides a cloak of empowerment to where you're able to move forth more boldly, even in a very mundane sense, knowing that kind of the vibration is raised so much that it kind of outshines or overpowers anything of like a lower vibration, or, it's a way to kind of unpack those experiences in that safe space within that kind of love story that allows, maybe you and this person, if one of you's an empath, if both of you are empaths, to be able to kind of perform at your optimal level without being so kind of overwhelmed or bogged down by the energies you experience. Maybe even having someone that kind of understands that, can empathize with being an empath, or brings forth like certain ideas or skills. Maybe one's more spiritually based, the other person is more kind of logical and practical, and so it's that sort of meeting of the minds, that meeting in the middle, that helps to kind of create, it feels like, more effectiveness in navigating the human journey and the human experience in tandem with kind of the energetic realms and psychic sensitivity in relation to kind of interfacing or dealing with like other human beings. We also have lunar progressor, emotional equilibrium, compassionate non-attachment. So there's a sense here that the purpose or mission is really holding space for one another, to kind of reach higher levels within sort of your own personal journey, your own personal progress. Ways in which they're, with that lunar energy, that's kind of the aspect of the shadow that can relate to like hidden talents and abilities, skill sets that haven't been utilized, or ways in which there's almost like a timidness or a fearfulness to go all in with something, or to kind of expand beyond a comfort zone, tread off the beaten trail and kind of forge a new path forward. All of that can be part of this like purpose or mission with one another, is the sense that you really encourage that. Like if all else fails, you have one another, you have that love. And so that can be something which is kind of that driving force that encourages each of you to sort of take risks in very unique and individual directions. So you're walking solo, but you're never alone. And we also have deal with the goat energy right there. So again, this is kind of talking about, looking at sort of the areas of your life where you are fearful to take risks, risk-averse behavior, sort of treading the straight and narrow, working in a very practical capacity, things that, are kind of maybe guaranteed to sort of earn a certain wage, or living a particular lifestyle, ways in which you've sort of hidden certain talents or abilities or a whole aspect of yourself. It could really be that you and this person, you come together within kind of the nature of the dynamic between the two of you. There's encouragement to kind of unmask in some way, bring forth more of that authenticity, pour that into the essence of what it is that you're doing in daily living and what you're doing professionally speaking, or at least being able to kind of have that sort of sanctuary where parts of yourself that don't necessarily resonate with what you're kind of drawn to do on like a daily basis, or, in the light of day and in kind of a practical sense, what you have to do to make money. That there's a sense of almost creating like a sanctuary or an oasis where you can really just kick off your shoes, let the hair down, and kind of be yourself behind closed doors, or, with this individual, which it feels like takes off a lot of that pressure of kind of a segmented self, parts of you that have been misunderstood versus what you've needed to do to kind of be acceptable or fit into your niche in a certain way. That the purpose or mission of this sort of love story is to kind of provide that decompression for one another, so you're able to give more of yourselves outwardly, to kind of do the best you can in your career, or again kind of take educated risks or leaps of faith in particular directions, to come into more of a place of alignment where you're not just satisfied and happy with yourself behind closed doors, but you strive to kind of have that in an active sense in your active daily living. And we also have victory with the boar energy. So this is all about the aspect of like coming out of hiding in some sort of way, pouring forth or expressing different parts of your personality in a way that kind of there's a lack of timidness and you're moving forward with a boldness. So it's definitely in essence, again, all of these confirmations that the love between the two of you, that is the purpose, that is the mission, that you're drawn off in these different directions, kind of lone wolf sort of energy, or even something that relates to kind of embarking along a new path, maybe going from an aspect of like working for other people into entrepreneurship, into self-employment, and just like needing that other person there that encourages that leap of faith, that won't be someone that kind of points out all the risks, but points out the potential benefits and the rewards. And it allows each of you to kind of really highlight or showcase your talents in a way that might not be so readily kind of available, or you might sort of feel like a need to kind of hide or keep these things to yourself, or there's just not been that proper kind of encouragement to pursue certain dreams, or to allow aspects of yourself kind of to be unmasked and sort of shown at face value. So in some sort of way, and these energies really do speak to people that are likely kind of drawn toward paths they've been walking for quite some time, maybe like highly skilled careers or things that they've invested a lot of time within, maybe even sort of like hobbies or personal interests that a lot of time, like years, have been invested in that. And this can be that push to kind of find a way to turn that into a career, find a way to turn that into a way to make side income, or, the sole income, rather than kind of just something one does on the side. It's the essence of kind of this love sort of brings each of you out of a place of hiding in order to kind of disconnect or dissolve in certain ways anything that you've been doing as far as your life's concerned, where you've been just sort of going through the motions because you're told, or you were feeling that like that's what you need to do to be successful, that's what you need to do to be a well-rounded individual, that's what you need to do to be well liked or well received. And there's a sense of almost kind of bringing out more of the authenticity of who you are, each as individuals, in order to be able to really kind of feel good about what it is that you're doing. You're not just making money, you're not just having a career, putting in time at a job, but it's the sense of almost like feeling very satisfied with the expenditure of time. Like there's a reciprocity in terms of hours worked, but then you gain that personal satisfaction. That in and of itself, it kind of raises that vibration. When we become more of that emanation of joy, it sends out that frequency that's very contagious to other people. Even if they don't know what the source of that joy is, you can't help but to lift the vibration of the rooms that you come into, or the people that you come into contact with, if you're holding that frequency of satisfaction deeply within yourselves. And so it feels like that's part of the purpose and mission as well, is to kind of elevate that frequency of, I like who I am, I like the life that I'm living, I feel good about sort of my choices in this lifetime, from this point moving forward, or up to this point, whatever that sort of looks like. And allowing that to be something that takes more of a dominant role within each of your frequencies. And that this is a way that it kind of creates more of the energy of positive change in the world around you, because you've sort of enhanced the energy of positivity within yourselves. So let's see what you can do to start working on this kind of mission or purpose in the here and now. Okay, so we have Wheel of Fortune, Nine of Wands, and the Ten of Wands. So this is the energy of endurance right here. If you're trying to like learn a new skill set, you've been kind of brainstorming, you've been planning, you've been trying to make some sort of pivot in your own kind of personal narrative arc. There's a sense of continuing to invest in that, continue to work behind the scenes, work very diligently, carve out time in your daily life and your daily reality to bring those bigger dreams and goals to fruition. Because when this person kind of aligns with you, or if you're already with this person, as your relationship deepens, it's almost like the love that blossoms and grows between the two of you. It just infuses, it just enhances, it helps to kind of not just wait for that wheel to turn, but it pushes that wheel in the direction of fortune favoring you. You're not just kind of waiting for that lucky break. You're making that happen through this kind of adamant belief within self, that laser focus upon that goal, that dream, that vision only you can see. And, kind of trusting or understanding or moving into that energy of an embodied knowing that circumstances have no choice but to come into a place of conformity if you are moving forth with that determination of, I know the feeling that I am striving for, and I trust that the kind of moving parts around me will realign themselves accordingly so that the outside reality matches this kind of internal sensation that I've cultivated within me of what wish fulfillment looks like, what that feels like. If this has to relate to kind of something with like this person's divine counterpart kind of encouraging you to bring some sort of like hidden talent or skill or ability or hobby and kind of make that more the primary focus of your reality, it's not something maybe that you're doing right now. It's just, again, like a skill or a hobby or something you do in kind of your days off or your downtime. And this can also be that encouragement. Continue to pour yourself into that. Continue to kind of saturate yourself in what brings you a sense of joy. Continue to strengthen those skills, continue to practice, continue to invest in that, because in some way it's almost like something that it might be a behind the scenes sort of thing for you now, but when this person comes along, it's like they will maybe even accept this part of you in a way that raises your frequency. Maybe it's something you've never had anyone that understood why you were drawn to something, why you spent so much time on a particular thing. But like this person will get it. They'll get that it's a very unique part of you. They'll love and embrace that part of you, even if it's not something that, you know, they participate in or they are drawn toward. It's a sense of it's what makes you you. It's a part of your unique sort of essence, and it's something that this individual, it feels like, will help you to see that this is more than just something which should be on the back burner. It's more than just a side aspect of who you are, and this love kind of encourages you to either make more room for that as a priority if it needs to stay something behind the scenes, or this love kind of encourages you to birth that forth into your life in some sort of way, maybe to create financial freedom for yourself or peace of mind in some sort of way. Because again, you're kind of working toward that active satisfaction with the way in which you're spending your time in this life. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. You got D, C, F, X, N, H, A, V, O, I, W, J, Z, S, and R. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. Chose the strawberry quartz. So let's see, do you and your divine counterpart have a purpose or mission to fulfill together in this lifetime? And if so, what is it? And you can apply these messages to the idea of a twin flame, a twin soul, a soulmate, future spouse, true love, no label at all, just whatever you most resonate with the idea of the person that you will spend your life with. Is there a purpose or mission for the two of you to fulfill? Okay, so we have Queen of the Sun. Nothing is lost that cannot be found. So this definitely speaks to the energy of unification, a joining together, something that it feels like will become apparent or known when the two of you embark on a relationship with one another, a deepening of your relationship with each other if you're currently in connection with each other. This can also kind of tie into the idea of something that steps out of the energy of repetition, since I kept being drawn to use the word each other like over and over again. There's something as far as like an innovation, something as far as maybe bringing a new sort of flair to current ideas as far as spiritual paths are concerned, anything as far as like healing or wellness or just specific kind of modalities. It feels like things outside of kind of a practical or a mundane sense. So this may really involve sort of special interests, ways in which you kind of are each sort of questing for information, knowledge, truth, expansion, the actualization of the fullness of the human experience, and kind of going through the gamut of all the literature that's out there, all of the kind of mainstream ideas, or even things that are a little more sort of left of the dial, but that still have a lot of kind of publication behind them, or a lot of sort of notoriety, some kind of following behind them, these ideas, these traditions, these practices, things that might even be sort of obscure, but there's some sort of template of like a community base behind that. It feels like for you and this individual, it's taking things further into these outer realms of something that may be very, very unique, very individuated, something that may be very almost revolutionary, or kind of takes things to the next level in a certain way, in terms of a foundation that has been laid, in terms of study, in terms of questing, in terms of personal growth and expansion. And kind of bringing together, it feels like a culmination of skills and experiences, each of your own unique perspectives and insights, to perhaps create sort of another way forward for other people, navigating the spiritual experience, navigating personal healing journeys, or even kind of just that, existential crisis sort of energy. What's the meaning of life? Why am I here? What is my purpose? You and this person may be kind of those stewards that help other people discover that for themselves, maybe through some sort of new modality that's developed, something that comes through in the form of downloads, visions, something that you open up towards or to within yourselves and your own kind of unique spiritual path working and growth process. This can be something that is then meant to be sort of shared with others. It expands the mind. It creates yet another option for people that are in that energy of seeking to have another avenue to explore. That may be something that kind of, it's legacy building almost beyond your lifetime, the shape that sort of takes, the ways in which kind of that message or that idea or that process or that practice that is then carried forth. People that sort of generate interest, go through that process, take in the information, absorb what you and this person have to present, have to offer, and the ways in which they sort of carry that forth. They implement that within their own life. They touch the lives of other people, kind of based on that approach or that philosophy or that practice. All of that feels to be something that then kind of carries on even generations beyond you and this divine counterpart, you and this person. So again, this can involve like creating some kind of new modality, some kind of path working. This may even involve, writing or creating kind of publications or material for other people that just sort of get them thinking, get them kind of exploring different sorts of avenues, or seeing things that are almost kind of commonly accepted, maybe from a different sort of angle, or a different interpretation that isn't sort of commonly talked about, or may have never been discussed or presented before, and kind of bringing your sort of feedback or your experience into that, sort of breaking out of that energy of sameness and monotony, even in things that are very, outside of the box, and kind of taking it, branching that off even further into something that sheds light on yet another unique facet of something. And we also have the Cosmic Magdalene, remember who you are. So this is the energy of like ascended masters, teachers from the higher realms. You may resonate as a star seed or consider yourself a light worker, a way shower. This can speak about kind of that conscious contact with those sort of higher realms and dimensions. This can speak about different meditative practices, spiritual truths, things that are even kind of channeled very directly from your relationship with your higher self, with ascended masters, kind of intelligences outside of sort of 3D material reality, whatever that looks like for you, whatever that kind of resonates as for you, that there may be something as far as bringing that kind of information that is sort of coded in a cosmic sense that you and this person are able to kind of access, or that is given to you, or you're able to translate, and sharing that, kind of being that sort of instrument or that vessel to bring forth and kind of anchor in that higher frequency here into the material plane in a way that it feels like goes beyond just sort of sharing your opinions about things. There's almost like a passive energy within this where you again kind of serve as like a channel or an instrument or a vehicle for these sort of higher energies to sort of come forth and to make themselves known, to present something in some sort of way, or through your kind of individual workings with these higher intelligences. It may be where you're kind of given or shown something that relates to a new modality. Maybe it's a new healing modality. Maybe this is some kind of philosophy, some kind of practice, some sort of invention or an innovation. It can be a wide range of things that it feels like will come through a very almost unique and shared experience where you and this person, you may have kind of gone about the process of sort of creating that communication with kind of your higher self or your spirit team or your ancestors, your spirit guides, cosmic intelligences, just whatever, angels, whatever it is that you resonate with. You're already involved and kind of engaged with having that conversation very regularly. And then you meet one another, or your relationship deepens, and it's like we're speaking the same language. I get what it is you're talking about. It's not just something that even the concept or the idea of that kind of conscious communication, that it wouldn't be presented as so foreign or so outside of the box or so inaccessible as it may have been with previous romantic partners that each of you had had. Or even if those people had sort of a surface level understanding, they weren't getting it on the same kind of energetic level or the same intensity or the nature of experience that maybe you and this divine counterpart, you and this twin flame, you and this soulmate, you and this true love, whoever this is, that the two of you kind of experience it as. It may be where you're connecting with the same kinds of consciousnesses, or your experience of that process, what you've had to do to kind of generate those open lines of communication, or the ways in which you may invest yourself in that as like part of your regular spiritual practice, part of daily living even. That can be something that sort of translates into having that support system for one another, and even kind of getting sort of separate information, each of you, and combining it into some sort of shared kind of theory or philosophy, or practice or modality, or again like an invention of some sort, something that brings forth innovation in a way that is kind of not typically talked about. It's not been done before. It's not out there at this point in time, and it may be where you are also operating as kind of like a support system for one another to really step out truly into the unknown, out into the space where no one has ventured, because it's something that's very kind of progressive, or almost like ahead of its time, or something where whatever you're meant to do, its full impact is like beyond your lifetime in a way. It's not just helping people in the here and now. It's almost something that's brought forth that's for generations to come. They are the ones that will get kind of the full benefit, or the reward, or the experience, or be able to kind of resonate most deeply with what it is that's being sort of translated in the here and now. We also have dimensional planes of perception. Number 5, spiritual strength, virtue, and valor. So number 5, that's the energy of change, the spiritual planes. Again, that's like the higher dimensions. That's the 5D and above. Something that speaks as well, that idea of valor is like the courage to speak a truth that may be very different from what is out there collectively. To put yourselves forth even in a public way as star seeds, light workers, way showers. Discuss the fact that you have these kind of meditative conversations, these downloads, these experiences with the higher realms, with your spirit teams, with your ancestors, with your spirit guides. It may be something that's just a closed door practice. It's behind the scenes. And so part of that purpose and mission is not just taking in those messages for yourself or kind of keeping that to yourself, but a way in which you and this person are meant to kind of birth that forth, bring that forth for other people. It's messages for kind of more than just yourselves, or it's a modality, it's a path working, it's an idea, it's a principle that is meant to be sort of shared with the collective. It's meant to be shared with the masses. It's meant to be put out there as kind of a magnetic beacon that then sort of draws in people who will resonate with that, people who sort of need the information there, or that it activates something within them to be able to kind of access their sort of higher intuitive knowledge as well. Sort of provides maybe even resonance or reassurance for people going through the process of ascension or spiritual journey even, that they're not alone, that they're not losing their mind, that, that this isn't kind of just sending them off on a wild goose chase, but it might be something that you bring forth kind of information and sort of reassurances to others that encourages them to kind of continue to expand beyond sort of the linear and beyond the logical into more of that liminal space. And we also have seal of fulfilled transformation, alchemy, metamorphosis, karmic completion. So that idea of karmic completion, again, speaks to sort of the parameters of what are kind of commonly accepted practices or beliefs, theories, ideas, and in some way you and this divine counterpart are meant to bring forth something that is like the expansion of that. It's the idea of, it's bringing forth this kind of visioning of like a tree ring, like on a tree stump, and kind of the implementation of another ring. A new kind of growth cycle, a new sort of paradigm that then people can strive for or reach for, another option out of the kind of myriad of options that exist in the human experience for where people can find answers, where people can find solace, where people can kind of find the gateway to finding themselves through various religious traditions, philosophies, spiritual practices. It's almost like you and this person add another layer onto that. You put forth something that in years to follow will kind of be remembered. It'll make an impact. It'll inform even other people to sort of expand what it is that they are putting forth. It creates some sort of substantial ripple, creates sort of the energy of change and kind of adds into the nature of variety. It moves in opposition to the energies of stagnation, and it creates more of a flow state. It adds more of like a healthy or an abundant energy into sort of the stream of the collective consciousness by, opening up kind of the idea of the portal of possibilities. And we also have energy with the hummingbird. So this is, again, kind of this essence of going very far outside of the box. Maybe what it is that, your guides or your angels or your ancestors or whatever your personal practice is, it's kind of stretches the imagination to its limits. It goes far beyond that. It may enter into the realm of taboo, or there's a sense of fearfulness. Will I be rejected? Will I be laughed at? Will I be scorned? Will I be mocked by bringing this idea forth, or even kind of presenting yourselves as individuals who sort of engage in those practices of like channeling information, communing with the higher realms, receiving or asking for information or messages from spirit guides, from ancestors, angels, spirit teams, higher cosmic intelligences, just whatever it is you resonate with. And there's a sense of really kind of fearlessness with this, and sort of going the distance, looking at it in terms of legacy, in terms of things that might not necessarily be received very immediately, or, in a way that you would like or that you'd imagine, the ripple effect of that is very profound. It's something that stretches far beyond just kind of the immediate here and now, or you might even find that, you're bringing something forth in the reach. It's a lot wider than you would have imagined. There's people that kind of, it makes sense to them. It resonates. You draw a lot in, not as far as mockery, but as far as people that really are touched or really are inspired or really get some benefit or some kind of gain out of kind of the essence of what's brought forth, just as pure energy, as that high vibrational energy translated through the rudimentary process of like the written word, the spoken word, anything that's kind of created as far as a modality or a practice or a path working. It's the sense that you and this divine counterpart act as almost like the filter or the funnel that kind of like receives all this energy and distills it in such a way that it makes it palpable or accessible to other people, for the purpose of sort of expanding the mind, expanding consciousness, expanding the possibilities of how to explore in order to find meaning or to make sense out of the greater human experience. And we also have joy with the dragonfly energy. So more of that essence of metamorphosis and transformation. It's taking things to a next level. It may be even kind of reimagining or going beyond the borders of some kind of established practice. This can be religious, this can be spiritual, this can be philosophical, taking certain things and putting a new interpretation upon them, or being very informed or inspired in kind of how maybe a foundation in those things has led to kind of an expansiveness in some sort of way. It may even be talking about your own sort of spiritual experiences, your interactions with high strangeness, or the nature of like a spiritual awakening, what that has meant for you, what that has translated to, what that's looked like in a way that, again, helps to provide almost like reassurance for other people that may kind of go through some turbulence when they're going through the process of an awakening, or they get to that point where it's time to kind of dive deep in the shadow and they run in the other direction because it's uncomfortable, because it's unknown, because they're encountering things that are not kind of usually seen within sort of material reality, or aren't experienced in kind of the linear or the logical plane. And so it may be you and this divine counterpart, you and this soulmate, you and this twin flame, you and this true love. You're depicting, you're describing your experiences through the written word, through art, through music, through kind of some sort of sound healing or energy healing, or just whatever it is that looks like for you, whatever it is that you're drawn towards in that capacity. And it's almost the sense of operating as kind of like midwives or doulas, to kind of carry other people forth through that, or provide that reassurance, that sustenance of like, you're not alone in this process. You're not alone in this journey. It may not make sense to everyone, but it makes sense if it makes sense to you. Kind of an energy here that it feels like encourages other people in a more broad scope to continue to explore, to continue to question, to continue to transcend beyond kind of the liminal and the ordinary into kind of these evolutionary energies of embracing the idea of the imagination and the expansion of the senses beyond just kind of the typical main five senses that we think about, and kind of tapping into that sixth sense, that sensitivity, that heightened awareness, and even transcending that in certain ways as well. So let's take a look at what you can do to start to embark on this purpose or mission in the here and now. Okay, we have Judgment, the Devil, and the Four of Wands. So this is all about the energy of continuing to explore. This is balancing the light and shadow within yourself, recognizing kind of the limits as far as information you've taken in, information that's available, even if you're still questing, if you're still kind of exploring, you're still sort of walking paths. There's a sense of almost not constraining yourself or not being so afraid to kind of think outside of the box. Feel that fear and walk through those gates anyway, often to the unknown, often to things that maybe aren't so commonly practiced, maybe aren't so commonly talked about, rather than just kind of taking things in at face value, using that kind of critical thinking skill and using that to unlock kind of an imaginative sense within. Here are all the things that people profess to know. What are the other possibilities that could exist out there? What are things that are not like talked about necessarily, or that aren't sort of the common definitions of the way things are done or how things are interpreted? What does it mean for me? What do my spirit guides tell me is kind of the right way or different way of sort of looking at things? It's the idea of exploring off into the unknown, continuing to kind of follow that pull and that sort of nudge in uncommon directions, leaving no stone unturned as far as your spiritual path and journey is concerned. If you've been very kind of locked into sort of one practice, now might be the time to, explore things that you might say to yourself, well, that's in direct opposition with what I believe. That's in direct opposition with what I've been taught, with how I've been practicing. There's almost a need to kind of introduce innovation, not in the sense that you'd be shifting anything, but it's almost just taking in more information so you become well-rounded, so you see the entire scope of sort of the spiritual world, the material that's out there, spiritually based communities, any sort of like healing modalities and practices. How do other people do it? What are other people thinking? What are people that I don't normally sort of resonate with, or ideas I don't normally sort of resonate with? What is their perspective? What can I read between the lines and kind of take away from those messages or those practices or those ideas or those beliefs that in some way there's like a concurrence with what it is that I resonate with, what it is that I've been taught, what it is that I believe. And it's a sense of almost connecting the dots in like an uncommon way that might really help to kind of gear you in to that ability to sort of allow yourself to become that kind of channel for the higher level frequencies, because it's a sense of almost, there's a sense here with these energies or with this kind of like purpose or mission with this individual, with this divine counterpart that, certainly you can kind of embark on at this point in time, that it's almost, you're an instrument for frequencies that are beyond language. They're beyond kind of logic. They're beyond sort of standard taxonomy. And so things can get lost in translation, or there's like many different faces of what that can present as, many different things that it can mean. There's no right way. This and that are true. It's this and it's that. It's, kind of a gray area almost. And so there's a sense of becoming very emboldened and willing to take risks in terms of how you sort of take things at face value and what you allow that kind of quiet sense within yourself, or your own sort of guidance, the nudges, the resonance from your particular spirit team, your very unique relationship, your individual relationship with spirit, allowing that to inform kind of how you look at things moving forward, rather than just saying, well, everybody agrees with this. This is the most popular idea. This is how everybody does it. There's a sense of almost a nudge from within you, or a way in which you can kind of increase that conscious contact with things sort of outside of yourself that may help to sort of ease you into a place of, but there's another way, or there could be another way, or can you make another way? Can there possibly be another definition? Could there possibly be another idea? Could there possibly be another way of doing something? And that gets you in that kind of aligned frequency with the idea of innovation, with the idea of kind of taking things forward in a progressive manner, rather than kind of just circulating within an energy of things that are kind of commonly expressed, commonly experienced, commonly known. So exploring different things, seeing what's out there, feeling free to experiment, all of that kind of leading into a sense of creating well-roundedness and balance, again, with sort of the light aspect, what you know, what you've already practiced, what is familiar to you, and the shadow aspect, things that you don't know, things that are unfamiliar, things you will have to feel your way through, creating some symbiosis between that. And that opens the door to kind of a different sort of portal forward. Then you're not just coming in lopsided with sort of like, this is how I've always done it. You're incorporating also kind of the essence of, but this is an interesting possibility, or this is something I never thought of before. This could be a maybe. I'll have to try it out and see. And so it creates almost more fluidity and flow, it feels like, in how you approach your own sort of unique spiritual path. You may be already drawn at this time to kind of leave certain things behind. You may have been called to explore certain things at this time, or even bring forth practices that you'd kind of left behind earlier in your spiritual journey that you're picking up again. You're sort of revisiting these things. All of that energy of change is kind of the essence of how you can sort of begin that purpose and mission now, to remain very kind of mutable, very malleable within sort of this fixed focus of striving for almost like feeding or strengthening the idea of spirits having like a human experience. So you're strengthening kind of the nature of that spiritual side, what that looks like, what the different faces and facets are of that, and how you contribute to kind of the fullness or the fulfillment of each of those faces, so that you're moving forth in a very adaptable way rather than as something very kind of just linear or one-sided. So I'm going to get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got S, L, A, Y, U, Z, I, U, V, B, G, P, N, J, D, and W. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.